Jogvan, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For being the co-creator of IC3 On Demand and for leading the way, as always, with University of Queensland. We've seen that with the school community, that you've shown the way with all your programming, with all the engagement. And it's only appropriate that the first IC3 On Demand event gets launched with the University of Queensland. So thank you for being here and making the trek here.
Thank you.
Tell me what's driving this philosophy, this approach for University of Queensland, and for you personally. A little bit more about your story. Did you get guidance and counseling when you were growing up in school, and then what really happened, and why is school engagement so important for you personally and also from the University of Queensland's perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Ganesh, and thank you for having me here today. I think it's an absolute pleasure for us to be here. I didn't get much counseling or guidance when I was growing up. I'm from a place called the Faroe Islands, which is part of Denmark, and grew up in Denmark and did my schooling there. Denmark does have a pretty evolved approach to guidance counseling, but I am first in family, so my parents had not gone to university before, so it just wasn't in the cards. So it was nothing that I was pushed towards, and it was sort of slightly by accident that I ended up at university, but I'm very happy that I did. And my first job at a university was as what's called a student counselor in Denmark. The student counseling function in Denmark is really quite, like I said, it is quite evolved. You get empowered with a lot of things in that role, so it's a student job. You do things like advocacy on behalf of current students. You do guidance and on academic, but also sort of light triaging on personal issues. I was in that role during the Boxing Day tsunami, for example, so working with our students who were affected by that and how we could adjust studies around that. But a really big function of that role was working with prospective students. So that was my sort of first role, working with prospective students and providing them with advice and counseling on programs. And I saw there how important that is. And I think in particular how important it is to ensure that students who might not have a direct path to university, or parents who both have gone and know exactly how to guide their children, how important that is. And you could see sort of firsthand like that there are little light bulbs that come on when you talk about these are actually plausible pathways for you. So that was my first sort of personal encounter with that. Then I moved to Australia, and my first job there was in Victoria, and I was driving around country Victoria in this particular job. I was working for a university called La Trobe University. So I was driving around in a Toyota Camry to small towns all across Victoria and talking to them about coming to university, coming to La Trobe in particular. But even there, and this is almost 2 decades ago, it's pretty evolved. So through what's there in Australia called the Tertiary Information Service, the universities and the providers come together in going out to the community. This is not just the small towns, but also in Melbourne and bigger places, to provide, I guess, this information service to that is more holistic. And I'll tell you a story. My first job, I had not worked in Australia before, and we divide the jobs between us. So you have to be able to talk about all parts of the sector in these types of roles. And my first speaking job was at the University of Melbourne, and I was given the job of talking about TAFE, which is vocational education. Yes. And in Denmark, we don't have school uniforms. So my first job was I sort of got up on stage, and there were 600 kids in front of me, all in a school uniform, and I'd never seen it before. So I was like, oh my God. And they had given me the job talking about TAFE. And I didn't actually know what it was. So I was furiously Googling the week before, what is TAFE? What am I meant to be saying about this? But I think I got away with it. I was a bit nervous, but I think I managed to do it. But I guess sort of within that sits, and I think it is a bit of an ethos that we have in Australia. I mean, we are, many different universities and, in some ways competing about students, but it is very collaborative. I mean, we do work very closely together in ensuring that, in Australia, but also as we go out into the world, that we are working together to ensure that students are making informed decisions. So that's been sort of a through line in everything. And I've then been fortunate enough to get in a position where I'm able to drive some of that.
And it's interesting, you needed to discover for those 600 kids what TAFE was, and you prepared for it.
Yep.
But there's so much for young people to discover while they're going through school.
Yeah.
There's so many questions that they're looking for answers to. And those decisions are such sticky decisions. Once an engineer, always an engineer. Once a doctor, always a doctor. Once rich is not always rich. Once a graduate of University of X is always a graduate of University of X.
That's right.
It's not something that you can change. And so does that kind of make you feel at times that extra sense of responsibility and that ownership, that when you go out there and you speak to young people and you engage with schools, that you're actually helping them make decisions that are going to have 60-year impacts on their life, 40-year impacts on their life.
Yeah. And in many cases, sort of intergenerational impact in lives. So, no, it is a big responsibility, and I think it's something that we don't take lightly at all. And I think the work that we're doing here in India, for example, around engaging with IC3 on trying to rise the tide for all the boats when it comes to being able to deliver the best guidance counselling that is available, that you can. That's something that is very close to our heart. Even the things that we do through our QABS competitions, which is entrepreneurship competition directly with high schools and with high school kids, it's really about ensuring that the students get an opportunity to have a taste of what are the opportunities that are available to me. And for most of the students who participate in that, they're not going to come to the University of Queensland, but we know that, hopefully that has sparked something in them that they will go out and seek more information and know what's available to themselves. And I mean, in some ways, I feel like I've got little children. I've got 2 kids, 7 and 11.
7 and 11. They're getting close to now needing lots of counseling.
I know, and I'm very excited about it. I look forward to when the first one needs to go around to university open day. I want to go. And even in talking, I mean, I'm in a very privileged position, of course, through what I've been able to do with my work life, in talking to my kids, and they're interested in one thing one week and something else the next week. But sometimes framing those conversations, and they would say, Bobby, I would like to study Egyptology. I was like, well, where should I study? I want to study the pyramids. I said, well, you should probably study that in Egypt, I think.
That's fascinating.
So I guess being able to, and I think that's one of the things that is privileged for us that work in these kinds of positions, that you can actually sort of see and connect a lot of these dots, and we get a lot of exposure to a lot of different university systems, and education systems in general. Like you said, there are so many opportunities out there, and finding the right ones is a challenge.
Well, and I have to tell you a little bit about, since you talked about Denmark, do you know that we have an IC3 Institute graduate who did a 1-year program in Denmark? Her name is Sarah Peterson.
All right.
She's a college counselor at a school in Denmark.
Okay.
And since you talked about it, this is a universal need, Jogvan, from what I see as I travel around. So you need counseling, you need help young people to find purpose, meaning, direction, guidance.
Yeah.
But not every institution cares as deeply as the University of Queensland.
No.
So where is this factory within the University of Queensland of minds that say, hey, let's support this mission, let's work on school counselors. Surely, everybody's trying to attract students to their campuses.
Yeah.
But not every institution sees, putting energies into counseling as, because it seems far-fetched. Like you said, the QABS student may never come to you, but you've had an impact. He's probably gone and talked about the University of Queensland's QLab to other friends who might end up coming.
Yep.
But there's clearly something happening within UQ where you've kind of doubled down, or you're thinking more about school engagement. And this has been going on for a long time. I mean, for as long as I can think of, the last 10 years, I think, UQ has been doing something or the other with school engagement, doing programming, doing competitions. So what's happening? Is there a system you have?
I mean, there is, but there's also, I think, sort of deeply rooted in the culture of the university, which sort of ultimately goes back to its foundation. So the University of Queensland, in its sort of founding act, as a state parliament act, it's for us to be a university for the state of Queensland. So we have, we were the first university in Queensland, and for a long time the only university, and we are, the only group of 8 big research-intensive university. So we've always had this sort of ethos of engaging with the community and being a university for the community. And so when we talk about the systems, I mean, we have sort of systematic school engagement framework where we look at, how do we engage with the community, and who do we engage with? And we're very explicit about it. It's completely appropriate for the University of Queensland, and of course, it's what we should be doing, to have multiple touch points with our community. The work that we do in health research and training doctors, and like that, we will have a lot of different touch points. But we're quite systematic when it then comes to the part of the community that we would say are the schools. So I'm fortunate enough to lead what's called the Future Students Australia team. So we will systematically work with all the guidance officers in the state of Queensland. So we work, we go out and we go through all the different offerings that we have available for them and for their students. We also work with the principals, but then under that we also, we have our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander unit. They will work with communities, schools that have very large Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. We have our international team will work with the schools that have international students. Our School of Mathematics are very important in driving curriculum development in mathematics in the state of Queensland. Our School of Education will place students. So we're quite systematic around how we do that. So it's something that I think is part of our vernacular, and it's really something that we're conscious about, how we engage with schools. And we've sort of taken that, we extended that to the world. And I think, I guess in India in particular has presented us some opportunities, and thanks to yourself and the people at IC3 being able to structure that, I think has been really helpful. Because ultimately it's also about, how would you be able to scale it? How would you be able to get the reach that you want, and that would make it worth it? And through organizations such as IC3 we can.
Is that something that is common, Jogvan? Is this something that's a little bit more unique to UQ, to the extent that UQ does this? As you look around, because you're also the chair of AIUDF, you work with so many other universities, colleagues. Is this something that's now more common in Australia, or is it still catching on, that, school empowerment? Because one of the things that we have advocated at IC3 is that enrollment management or future students and admissions needs to largely be a school empowerment function. You're building your universities from outside in.
Yeah.
That you're building your universities by going 4 years before the kid is actually going to come, or 3 years before, engaging that 9th grader, that 10th grader, that 11th grader, that 12th grader. This is a university building function. And, you know, I met many chancellors and vice chancellors, and we talk about enrollment management as a institution building function. Are you seeing this in general, or do you think people are still taking time to catch up to the idea?
I mean, in general, yeah, I think there's, I mean, it's most universities will have, you know, we build up sort of sometimes actually physical, what we would call a journey map. I mean, understanding, you know, at which stage of the journey would we have to engage a student, and in what kind of way. It's a pretty professionalized function like that. I mean, each university has their slightly different angle, and some have, you know, will recruit more students or engage more students in different parts of the world. And, you know, sometimes we're also supported by the government to do things like, at the moment, you know, the relationship between India and Australia just has never been closer. And I think there's a lot of push for us to do that. So, but I would say, I mean, the universities are really very collaborative when it comes to this. I mean, the AUIDF is a good example. This is an organization where we've got 39 member universities. All the universities in Australia are members. We meet a couple of times a year. We do joint events. We do knowledge sharing and benchmarking of what we do, and are a very collaborative body. But I mean, ultimately, sometimes it can be. I know I can imagine it looks like we're very commercial from this side, but in reality, it's really, I mean, hopefully, what we're wanting to do from the universities, which I'm sure the vice chancellors and chancellors would agree to, is like we're wanting to lift capacity so that students will choose to come to Australia.
Yeah. And I was intrigued when you said mathematics. You're actually, you know, schools need help for their mathematics teachers, for their physics teachers. Schools need help with internship opportunities. Schools need help in giving students exposure, possibly teaching geography better. And so there are so many different innovative ways of empowering schools. In a way, it kind of all accrues, you know, it all kind of accumulates from a university standpoint, because you've supported that community in different ways, in academics, in extracurriculars, in co-curricular activities. So I'm very heartened to hear that. And but you know, I want to come back a little bit to your own journey, your personal journey. When you went from high school to university, you said you didn't have any guidance. You were a first generation university attendee. What were the factors at that time for you? What are those experiences that you had? You went out and explored universities in the area. How did you source stuff? And also, how does that kind of shape, you know, that student counselor experience you talked about? Did you see the joy in the eye of the student and say, oh my God, I helped this kid and he's happy, and I really want to be able to help more young people?
And there's a couple of things I can pinpoint. So my own, I mean, I when I left high school, I got a job for a Swedish company that is an office furniture company. And I think I was a pretty clever kid, but I wasn't just ready to go to university. And it was very entry level. I was working in a warehouse, basically sweeping the floors, and very quickly, you know, they said, oh, this guy, he's too skinny to carry anything around. Let's put him in the office. And so I ended up getting they kept sort of promoting me and putting me in positions of more and more they kept flattering me, by sort of giving me more and more to do. But I also then myself, I got to the realization that everyone else I was sitting around had a degree. And so I actually ended up I did 4 years. I was did 4 years between high school and university. So in many ways, I had to sort of arrive at the destination myself around going to university. So I didn't have that guidance at the time. And a lot of my friends had gone to university, so I obviously knew about universities. I grew up I was in a town called Aarhus, which is a big university town. So you don't not know about the university when you're there. But actually, one of the key drivers for me was I actually wanted to go and study overseas. And in Denmark, education is free, education is high quality. It seems slightly mad to travel to some different country to pay for something that you can get for free. So I wanted to go on exchange. So that was what drove me there to the university. Ultimately, and that's how I ended up in Australia, actually, because sort of slight detour, but because I had worked for 4 years, I had a work ethic that I knew my fellow students did not have. Because I knew a lot of the lectures, I was the only one that would show up on a Friday morning at 8 o'clock in middle of winter in Denmark. But I never missed anything. I always went to everything because I knew that was sort of what was expected. So I got to choose first. So I had the highest GPA of my year level. So you get to choose first when it comes to exchange. And they had signed a new agreement in Australia. So I went to Melbourne there. That's sort of what took me there. But I would say, yes, it's quite early where you can see that you are actually making a difference in these sort of students' lives when you see that sort of, it's almost like a little light. The light's on, but it sort of gets a bit brighter when you can see these are the kinds of options. And a lot of time I find a lot of the students have a passion, right? They have a passion and they're just needing somewhere to get that guided towards. So being able to translate some of these, sometimes sort of slightly foreign concepts around, pathways or how a university degree works and things. You can just see the light coming on and you can see they're getting excited about it. I think that for me was personally really rewarding.
Thank you for sharing that, Jogvan. And when we come back, we want to now talk about how you survived in Australia without knowing about cricket. and we want to talk about University of Queensland and what. And so we'll do a couple of quick fires and whatever else, impromptu creations.
Sure.
Jogvan, I'm going to put you in the counselor spot.
Right, okay.
You're the counselor on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You're with a bunch of parents and students.
Mm-hmm.
And you're being asked questions, one coming from the left, one from the right. And here's the first one coming from the center.
Right.
Which are the top 3 programs at the University of Queensland?
The top 3, well, the top program really depends on who you are and what you're wanting to do. There are no sort of top 3 programs. We're not going to shoehorn anyone into a program that they're not wanting to study. We at the university are really fortunate in having a really wide array of courses that are available. I think in the latest rankings of subjects, I think there are 57 categories that you can get ranked in, or subject areas, and UQ is ranked in 52 of them. It goes again back to the university's sort of commitment to the state. Like you can study the rise of the Roman Empire in Brisbane. Wow. Or the fall of the Republic of the Roman Empire, like 2 different elements, but you can study both of them at UQ. We teach 10 different languages. We are really committed across all the sciences, agricultural science, medicine. We teach, you name it, we teach. It's almost easier to name the things that we don't teach than what we do. I would say so you find your passion within that. The university is really committed to the quality of the teaching, and it's something that we hold very dear. Through my own sort of experience at the university, I have the privilege of sitting on a range of committees where we look at the teaching and learning and student experience, and I can say it's something that we take really seriously. Ensuring that the students have good experience, and also that we're not out here just uplifting guidance counselor, we're also uplifting our own staff. One of the key elements, of course, at the moment is how do you make sure you incorporate AI in a responsible way within your curriculum, and that's a different response depending on the program. I think the key bit, and we're fortunate enough to have some of the best thinkers in this area at the university. I guess the key challenge when it comes to ensuring that you are able to embrace AI within whatever your profession is that it cannot replace the sort of cognitive or metacognitive process that you have when you're trying to resolve a problem. We're actually teaching you to become a learning individual. In addition to certain skills, but we're teaching you to become a learner. And if you are a learner, then you can use and interact with AI systems that can complement this process of learning and doing. You're not just offloading it, because I think that's the trap that we're definitely wanting to ensure. And I know as a parent, I'm wanting to ensure that my children don't fall into it's very easy to make it look like you did work. The trick is, how do you actually do work, and how do you use these things to leverage it? So it's something that we do. We do a similar thing actually when it comes to language. And this is not just for international students, this is also for domestic students. Often, we hear it as if there is a difference. But the reality is the process of becoming a professional within your chosen domain comes with its own vernacular, its own language. So you arrive as a high school student and you leave as a doctor. You have to be able to speak in a different way when you're a doctor than when you're a high school student. And we assist students with the language of the fields. Similar, like you arrive a high school student and you leave an engineer. We have to have taught you how to speak like an engineer in that process. So how we do our language support is sort of really embedded locally within the faculties, teaching students the domain language, if you want. So I can wax lyrical about this. There is no 3 top courses. It really depends on who you are.
And this question was from the counselor in the center.
Yeah.
Because the counselor is trying to sift through all the university options for their students.
Yeah.
And one of their sheets is the top 3 programs at universities. This is the university for these 3 programs. And so the message really then here is that it's an ocean of opportunities. It's like a large comprehensive institution with so many different options that a better question to ask is, these are the skill sets that my student has. These are the subjects that he likes. What could be the top 3 programs for this background?
Yeah,
is what you're suggesting. And to our counselor audience who'd watch this, we're not talking about an institution with 40 majors. You're talking about much more. You're talking about a lot of diversity, not just 10 languages in which you can study, but the way you explain how young people come in and mature to speak the language of their profession.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of innovation that seems to be coming through. Yeah. What are the 3 big innovations that have happened at UQ?
3 big innovations. If I'm going to talk to 3 things that I think
if I heard about MRI, I don't know why I heard something about MRI, and that was...
Oh, so you mean like those kinds of... Yes, so MRI. So whenever you are stuck in an MRI scanner, I think about UQ. It's one of the things that researchers at the university has developed. Similar, I think the Gardasil vaccine, I think is a really, it's a fantastic success story for, not just for the university, but for the impact that research can have. So the Gardasil vaccine is a vaccine against the human papillomavirus, which in particular has a correlation between that and cervical cancer in women. And Australia is on track to eradicate cervical cancer caused by this HPV within the next decade. So that is like literally curing a cancer. There's an interesting story behind it. I mean, there was a guy, I think he was from Scotland originally, or from the UK certainly, and a Chinese academic who came together at the university to do the research. And it takes a long time to come through with this. So, that's a vaccine that's made available around the world. And it's, it has a genuine impact in this. It's saving lives. I mean, that's, moms, sisters, grandparents who are able to join you for dinner who otherwise would not be able to. And that's really profound. There's some interesting work that we're doing in using sort of the venom of funnel web spiders in creating sort of organic compounds that are used in sort of eradicating bugs and things in agriculture. Like the work that we're doing in food and beverages research is really cutting edge. I mean, you can go on and on. UQ has a really deep well of research that we've done. That's sort of profoundly impactful on a global scale. And I think, like the latest one, I think it's only a couple of months ago that it was announced, a European pharmaceutical company acquiring a piece of technology from the university called molecular clamping. So this molecular clamping technology was, I can't claim to completely understand the science behind it, but it effectively holds in place a particular protein that allows for a much more rapid development of very effective and easily distributed vaccines. This research, it got a little bit of attention, quite a bit of attention during COVID. I mean, UQ was very close to being the organization that developed the COVID vaccine first. So this technology was able to develop on a vaccine much more rapidly than the Pfizers and others of the world. Unfortunately, there was a very small part of the I think it's like 5% of a protein in this vaccine that had an overlap with an HIV vaccine, HIV virus. So it would throw up false positives in testing. I mean, it wouldn't give you HIV, but it would throw up false positives. And of course, the regulations around this are so strong that meant that vaccine trial was discontinued, and then, but the research was not discontinued. So now they've developed the technology to a point where it was sold recently for, I think it was $1.6 billion US to a European pharmaceutical. But again, it's a bit like the Gardasil vaccine. The university then retains the ability to for sort of almost humanitarian purposes to spread the vaccine. So, developing countries have not had to pay, top dollar for the Gardasil vaccine, and similar with this technology. So we have some real sort of cutting edge, and I think it goes to the university's ability to commercialize its research and to do research that is really impactful. That is, I would say, one of the three legs of the university sort of. What really elevates the university. The other one is around the teaching and learning. I mean, there's no university in the country that wins more awards for teaching and learning than the University of Queensland. There's an annual Universities Australia Awards ceremony, and it really is a testament to how we invest in that area and how we want our teaching staff to excel. So I think that, and then the final leg is the breadth. I mean, the fact that we have this breadth of things that we teach is really quite unique. It makes us quite a unique institution.
Yeah. I think the students are getting excited, let's say, in the audience. And I want to ask for some one-word answers for them. The best thing to do on the weekend at the University of Queensland?
Oh, God, that's a really good question. I mean, again, I don't want to sound evasive, but similar to one person's best weekend is another person's nightmare. I think what we are blessed with in Queensland, of course, is we have a wonderful campus, but we also have really lovely weather almost all year around. So there are really great things to do. One personal highlight that I love to do, and I often see students there, is the hike up to Mount Cootha. So Mount Cootha is a mountain just around the corner from us, so you can go and hike to the top. We also have, a seemingly endless amount of sports available. I would say, I would be remiss of me not to mention that I think Brisbane has won every single football code championship this year that there has been available. So we won the Australian rules, the rugby, we won the state of origin. I'm going to reveal here that I don't know too much about the cricket, but I'm just going to assume we won that too. So it's a big outdoor lifestyle, and I think that's really attractive. It's actually attracting a lot of people, not just students. I mean, Brisbane is the fastest growing capital city in Australia, and lots of people are moving from other places to Brisbane. It's also, I mean, we have the Olympics coming in 2032, so there's a sort of a marker on the horizon for us all to work to, and so that's that. And then there's the normal things that students like to do.
I think it's what we're getting to is, from a counselor perspective, that this is far too large a story to tell, and that you need some time and energy and effort to fully explore the University of Queensland for the breadth, the depth, the opportunities. And I think that's something that that is coming through in this conversation. And since some of the counselors are going to be watching this, and you've answered my questions and some parent questions and possibly a student question, maybe there's something that you would have wanted to communicate. If you go out and are with counselors and principals, what is that message that you'd normally communicate which hasn't been spoken yet in this conversation?
Well, I think one is around the universities, and the university sector is quite accessible. And I think in particular, look in India. I mean, we've got most universities in Australia will have some sort of presence in India. We will have colleagues that work on the ground here. So there are opportunities to connect and get that advice. And I think that's one thing that, I mean, we talked about my own journey earlier. I wasn't aware that I could have just walked into the office and asked. I wasn't aware that there were these events happening that I could have participated in. So just knowing how accessible the universities are and how open they are to have these kinds of conversation, it's often easier than you think to get someone to come to your campus to talk about study, or come to your school to come about study in general. And it doesn't have to be about, I want to come here and I want to, just promote her, I want to shoehorn you into an accounting degree. That's not really what most universities are wanting to do. So reach out and engage with that as it is available. So I mean, I think that's one thing I would like to probably leave everyone with.
Yeah, that counseling can come to them.
Yeah.
Directly from the University of Queensland, or for that matter, other institutions.
Absolutely. That
they just need to take the time and put in the energy to explore and to find out and to help their students find that solution.
Yeah.
And that you're available. You have a team that's available to help.
That's right. So if I take the UQ example, I mean, we've got people on the ground here who can come and talk to all of the different things that the university offer. If you say, come and just talk about the University of Queensland, we could stay there all day, and we could sort of wax on lyrically about all sorts of things. But if you want to be sort of a bit more directive, I mean, we do the QABS competition for this particular reason, because it is a very specific sort of offering. Like it's a bit, I mean, the way that we make it available broadly internally at the university, I think makes it easier to take it outside. Like we have students in QLabs programs or in the ventures programs at the university that come from, They could be arts students in their first year of their bachelor, or they could be in their PhD doing vaccine research, and they're coming together across all these disciplines to come up with startups. That's what we're wanting to empower students with. But if you want to, if you want someone to come and just talk about how pretty Brisbane is, we can do that. But if you want to have someone to come and talk about what are the potential careers you could have in finance or biomedical sciences or mathematics, we also have that available, and we have good and trained staff available in India.
Great. So, well, that option is available. Deep dive into a particular career, get insights on design, on mathematics, on finance, and all of those options available. Much appreciate your time, Jogvan, for spending time with us. And
anytime.
Also, I hope that many more purposeful young people will find their purpose and their life's direction through your team here in India. They'll get counseled on all that, the ocean of opportunities really that are available at UQ, and that they will come find peace, joy, and make their lives and the lives of their communities better. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Ganesh. It's my pleasure.